so we can talk fast. So please, if you miss something in the presentation, just speak loud enough and cut me. So the idea here is to present you, so I'm working in bone regeneration and a PhD in this, we started a company in this. And the main, one of the main topics we saw is that we, and I include myself, don't really know what's happening at the dentist. Especially talking about dental implants, we have bone, we have teeth inside the bone, and when the teeth goes out, we place a dental implant, but no one really knows what's happening. You go to the dentist, you pay 2,000 euros, and you go out with a new teeth, but you don't really know what's happening. So the activity we have is to regenerate bone before placing a dental implant. So the idea of that presentation is to tell you a bit more how it works. So this is the kid version of the picture, this one, and this is the real clinical version. So this is the view of the dentist, and this is a dental implant. You know they're metallic, they're titanium. This is a prosthesis on it. It's actually a big prosthesis that uses tooth. This is hanging. This would be called a bridge in normal dentistry, and this is a problem. So in a normal person with a normal implant, you don't see the implant like this. You see bone, this is bone, coming up until the teeth, the fake teeth in that case. So this is the problem that we solve. One of the problems we pretend to solve, or we solve, placing a bone graft in there and expecting bone to actually regenerate, to recuperate the height of the bone that makes it look normal. When you smile, you don't want to smile with this. It's not super friendly.
Why do they use metal instead of ceramic?
Because
doesn't seem very natural to put metal on the bone.
No, it does not. Especially the teeth is originally ceramic.
Yeah.
But traditionally, so the implants appeared in the 60s.
Yeah.
And they saw that titanium could be embedded in bone. So they did tests in bigger dogs. They put a piece of titanium and they wanted to take it out after 5 or 6 years of testing, and it was totally embedded in bone. So that surgeon said, okay, now I'm going to use that thing, titanium, to grow a screw, to build a screw out of it, and on top of it I put a teeth. But that moment it was a crazy, sick idea. And that guy, Mark, he studied this during 10 years, and he got the dental implants. Only now, we have some ceramic implants appearing on the market. But from a philosophical point of view, you're right that what makes sense would be to have a ceramic implant. Because teeth is
it's because they started with metal, and so it's inert.
Because it was a metal army factory that diversified to medical devices, just to put it. So it was ammunition factory that switched to medical devices. So this kind of surgery takes place now, 1 every 20 seconds in the world. So we started like 2 minutes ago, it's already 8 surgeries where someone put the bone graft in that hole that we saw before. Just to make it clear, this is the, I'm sorry for the source, this is the Wikipedia definition of bone grafting, but it's very simple. And bone grafting, when we read this, we see that it's a surgical procedure, so it's horrible, there's blood, there's a surgeon in there, and we replace missing bone. So there we need to have a bone defect. Normally in the dental fits, when you take out a teeth that went wrong, we have a lot of fillings. You have an accident, you break a teeth, you take it out because you can't use it anymore. To perform bone grafting, we need a bone graft. So that's pretty straightforward. And bone grafts are used in this kind of surgery where we have original teeth. So this is the teeth as we know it. This is the part that we use to eat and masticate. This is the bone part. So this porous thing is bone. So this is our jaw actually, our maxilla. By some disorder, mistake, accident, things that go wrong, the teeth is extracted, and then as bone is not stimulated, it goes away. Bone is super lazy, and if we do not stimulate bone, it goes away. So if we do not move, we lose bone in mass. That's why we should do sports now. And once we get there, so our teeth fell 2 years ago, we cannot place a dental implant that's too big to place it there. So we need, in that situation, we need to use a material, something that allows us to have more volume to screw the titanium screw in. And this is a bone graft. This is what's about today. And then you can place a dental implant, that's the metallic part here, the neck, and then we have the ceramic part, that's what reproduces or replicates the original teeth that we used to eat. So these are the 4 options that we have to use or source bone grafts. Can you guess what is the first one? This one, where does it come from? Iliac crest, is he doing this? This comes from the hip, from the same patient. There the surgeon, usually a maxillosurgeon, puts you in the OR, takes bone from you and places it where you need it. This? Well, we call it a donor, but it's a cadaver, it's a human dead person. This one? Pretty obvious.
Animals.
From animals, they can be cows, pigs, horses. And this one?
Artificial.
Artificial, synthetic, we call it. So the market trend is a bit like this. Everything goes towards synthetics. Why? Because of ethics and because of performance. But there, as of today, this is moving towards synthetics because of the risk of disease transmission. So if you take a macro look to this, these three options come from a living being. Well, this one is dead, but it used to be alive. It was generated by a living being. And these three options clinically work better than synthetics. But synthetics have an ethic advantage. They do not come from living beings, so you have no risk of disease transmission, mad cow, call it as you wish. But this kind of material doesn't work as well as natural ones. So from a company point of view, we use a research. I was in a technical university to build the first synthetic material that works better than the natural ones. So now I'd just like you to take you for a journey from the very small scale of the material, is that thing, until the implant placement in a real patient. So this is the result of 15 or maybe more years of research, I don't even know, that we transferred. And this is called a biomimetic material. So the biomimicry is the fact to copy the human body to regenerate it. So the positioning here is that we have no idea how the body works, and we'll copy part of it to regenerate this part. So there we took the mineral phase of bone, so the white part, the one we give to the dog when we finish the meat, and we copied it as best as possible. So now we're like 20% far from the real bone. This 20% is very complex, it's the 80-20 rule more or less. But still we have something that is close enough to the mineral phase of bone to be recognized by the host cells and by the patient as its own bone. And this is the trick. So how does this work? The very beginning, can you pass the slide? This is a very intense story. The question is, how does biomimetic bone regeneration work? So this is what I just showed you. This is the surface of biomimetic crystals of something that copies reasonably well the mineral phase of bone, so the white part of bone. If we go one step further, this is the same thing seen in volume. So there we have a volume view of these 2D surfaces. So these are small crystals. So this is nanometric, this is around 30 nanometers, 50 nanometers, this is very small. If we go one step forward, this is, the picture you saw before is a zoom of this one. This is a hole we did in a 1 millimeter granule of bone graft. So there we're getting close to something we can actually see. So this is the surface of the biomimetic thing, the thing that is reasonably similar to bone, and this is the inside. If we go one step further, this is one granule. This is a 1 millimeter granule, this is what the surgeon sees and handles to put in the bone defect. So this is actually what we call the bone graft. Now that's a very good question. How does bone regeneration work? To answer that question, we need to know how bone regenerates itself. So bone is the only tissue in the body that can regenerate fully. So we have many stories about gods and mythology, but bone is the only tissue to actually regenerate 100%. So we have no scars in bone tissue. If you had a fracture once, you may feel something, but it's only callous, but you have no scars as we would have on the skin. So this remodeling cycle is about degrading bone. We don't care.
Can you repeat that? So the little bumps that I feel on my leg from all the years of hitting the wall.
Yeah, it's calcified callus. So your bone just stabilizes the fracture with some soft tissue, and then this soft tissue calcifies. But the bone indent is as your origin. So the trick is that every 3 years, your bone is 100% new. So you have no mineral phase that is more than 3 years old at your age. If you're a grandfather or grandmother, that's a different story. So if we link this, then we degrade bone, and then we generate bone. So when we're small, when we're kids and we grow, we generate more bone than we degrade. So we actually grow. There, if your little cousin has a fracture of the tibia, you don't care. There, you broke your leg, and 3 months after, he's running again. But when we're old, we have more bone resorption than bone formation. If these go to a very extreme level, they call it osteoporosis. And then, if grandmother breaks the femoral head, for instance, that's a huge problem. So you can't say, okay, grandmother, in 3 months you'll be walking. No, not going to happen. It's probably the end of the walking period of the grandmother. And this is a trick we use to put a bone graft, make bone believe that this is real bone, make it resorb, and form bone where we had the bone graft before. So we replace the bone graft by newly formed bone by making these cells think that what we put below it is actual bone from the patient. Okay? So let's come back to the granules. If we go one step forward, this is the granule. So this is a result of a preclinical study. So there we have a implantation of the granules. And if we go one step forward, we have these little cycles. And this red thing, these are called osteoclasts. These are the cells responsible of eating bone. So this means that the body actually recognizes the granule as bone and is eating it. If we go one step forward, there we see a granule again. These are two different pictures. Here we have another granule. And if we take a look at the cycle again, this is the bone-forming cells, and we can see them. These are osteocytes, they call it. These are the cells manufacturing bone. They are a bit stupid. When they manufacture bone too fat, they get stuck in newly formed bone. That's how you spot a live bone from a dead bone. You have these little cells in there. And you can see them around the material too. These are lining cells, they call it, because they form lines that are super friendly, and they form lines of working osteoblastic cells. So they're actually regenerating bone. Now, if we take that picture and start unzooming, we're trying to reach the macroscopic scale, so what the surgeon actually sees when we regenerate bone. So these are granules, okay? Then we have a different staining of the tissue, so in blue, green, we have newly formed bone. So if we unzoom again, so this is a newly formed bone, unzoom again, and then we have something that is 6 millimeters wide. So then this is the result of a preclinical study, and this is a study I don't really like because you just do vertical bone growth, so meaning you place a cup on the head of a rat and filled with bone graft, and you expect bone to grow inside it. So this is, but this is what's happening with your teeth. The white parts are the granules, so these are spheres, and the green one is newly formed bone. So here we have a continuous bone regeneration of something that was originally empty and only filled with the spheres here. So, if we go on with the story, now we move to humans, and this is the real story.
So, if I understand correctly, essentially the bone graft is being eaten by the osteoclast, being replaced by new bone.
Yeah, so the first
step. The end game is for the bone graft to eventually disappear completely.
Yes, so this is the first step, where you get bone between the granules of the bone graft, so this green part. And the second step is that these granules disappear progressively. So the most urgent part from a neurosurgeon point of view is to get this, because in there you can place a dental implant. And then you have that progressive replacement that takes between 1 and 3 years of these granules by this newly formed bone ensures that your implant 25 years after will still be stable.
So the best osteoclast would be something that looks like osteoclast fruit.
Yes, that would be.
Something that looks kind of attractive for osteoclast.
Yes, they want to eat it.
So at what point, how does the surgeon know after 2 months, 3 months that it was successfully, maybe he does an x-ray, he does x-ray?
Now we come to it. This is a good question, and the answer is they generally don't know. They wait a bit more or they take the risk.
You don't go back to the doctor, it means it was successful.
No, because you don't do the implant with you wait for the bone to generate, right? Before you do the implant.
Yeah, you have two options, but the normal one is a stage implant placement where you generate bone, you wait, you put a bone graft, you wait 4 months, and then you place the implant.
Did 5.
Or 5 months.
5. And it never took. The last one took. Cinco. Yeah, right here. The hardest one is in the narrow bridge in the front of the mouth. I had a top guy in the US do it. 'Cause I had another guy do it and he messed up. The implant was too long. But I'm very interested in this. I did constant resorption. It was constant void, waiting, and you have to wait half a year.
For the anterior sector, you need to do
So
sandwich.
the bone to come back in. It's horrible.
So you were without teeth during that time?
You have prosthetics, but
You know,
I was toothless. No, it was only one tooth, but 5 bone grafts. Yeah. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
So this is a 40-years old patient, woman, and we can see many things here. So she needed 2 teeth here, and 2 more on the bottom. So this is a panoramic view, and these are the molar teeth. You have the wisdom one that were extracted here. And there the trick is that we didn't have enough bone to place a dental implant. So this is the actual picture of the mouth of the patient. So this is the day she goes to the dentist and say, look, I need 2 teeth here and here. So these are the green arrows. If we come back, so the green arrows of this one. So these are the other ones on the bottom. So there the surgeon did 2 things. He did one double surgery, so he put the bone graft here that we almost don't see. So he put pins, membranes to keep the bone graft in place, to regenerate bone to be able to place a dental implant later. And on top, we see that he put granules, so then we see very well the granules. And he already put 2 dental implants. So this is immediate implant placement where you don't wait for the bone graft to regenerate. This is another technique. This is probably what they did to you. If we move forward, this is the moment of the surgery. So again, the green arrows represent this. So this is the pins they use to maintain the membrane, and this is the granule when the day they put it in the defect. So where they need to have bone height, put the dental screw.
So you removed a lot of the tissue, a lot of the...
No, he put it on top of it. So he opened the soft tissue. Yeah, I mean the bone level went down. Then he opened the soft tissue and increased the bone level, so the height of the bone with bone graft. And he closed the soft tissue on top. So now the soft tissue is open, so you see the bone graft. And then he closes the soft tissue and sends the patient home to regenerate.
Is it sort of sticky?
The gum.
Is it sort of sticky, so you model it? Or
In that case, they all have different habits, but sometimes they mix with plasma.
okay.
They just take your plasma from you, they centrifugate your blood and take the bottom part of it, so PRP, they all have different habits, but most of surgeons just hydrate the biomaterial with water and that's enough.
Okay.
You just
I was
place
just
it
wondering, is this like soft or is it actually?
These are like homeopathic granules.
Uh-huh.
Exactly the same feeling, and you can take them, you can wet them, and they stick a bit, but not too much, and this is the same handling.
But actually it has to dry to be hard as a cement, right?
No, it doesn't harden. What makes it hard is the bone regeneration between the granules.
Okay, so it stays as a paste until it's been...
It stays as granules. Yes, so then you have granules and then
Air.
the bone grows in between the
You
granules.
can't have air between.
No.
It needs to be completely clear of air.
Yeah, then you have, in that case it was PRP, so it was easier to handle in that case. But you can have just a blood clot, blood from the patient or water. But you don't have air. You have nothing. You
No,
can
because the blood will
Will
come
fill in
back.
the capillars.
Yeah, I think
I
so.
mean, the ideal thing is to have blood, because in blood you have
Yeah.
very specific molecules from the patient, specific agents, and this is the beginning of the regeneration. The blood clot will calcify and transform into bone. So if we move forward to the next visit, this is I think 6 months after, so they placed the second implant on the right, second implant on the left, and 2 implants in the bottom, where we actually regenerated bone just now. Okay, so if we take a look at the pictures of the patient, this is, again with the gum open, what bone looks like. So you remember we saw the granules that were white before? This is 6 months after, the bone that was actually regenerated. So we don't see any difference with the side bone here.
Why did they open her up?
To place the dental implant.
You need to open up like this?
You don't need to open it as much. So there the surgeon opened because he took a biopsy.
Fun.
Yeah, but they do this kind of things. But there's someone to be sure. This is one of the first cases with it. And that the surgeon, linking to your previous question, how do you know if you can implant or not? There it was a way for the surgeon to also know that he could implant and the bone was good. Because if you open just a bit, just what you need to place the dental implant, you don't really know what's below. And if it happen to infect or somehow some bad scenario that didn't happen, you want to know it before you place the dental implant.
So about the coloring here, so you can see that there is some yellow on the side and white on the top. No, on the red blob. There's
Small yellow.
That's right. This is the yellow bit that you're.
yeah. Is that what is
This-
that compared to like the coloring? Why is there different color?
This one,
Yeah.
this I think should be fat, but I'm not sure about it. This should be a little piece of fat, I think.
I think so.
Yeah, I'm not sure about it, but it should be fat. It can be many things. Okay, let's move
Or
forward.
infection.
Infection.
That's what I was
That
asking.
could be infection. Infection should be closer from the problem, actually. So I don't remember where I put this picture again. So this was a granule. Yeah. The picture was. Can you pause? So this is the first format that we did to use the biomimetic way to regenerate bone. So we trick the body to make bone cells, clast and blast, regenerate the bone graft. So replace the bone graft by living bone. But as you've seen, the surgery is invasive, and we have granules, so we have to choose the right amount of granules, place it, shape it as we can, try to use complements to make it like stand as we wish it to stand. But this is not the best option. So from this we developed two other products. One is an injectable one, so we basically have no picture of it clinically speaking, because you do a little hole and inject. And the most developed product is the 3D printing. So there we actually print the graft. We use the bulk composition of this one, and we print it into a personalized defect that fits perfectly the geometry of the defect of the patient. So there we treat way bigger defects, orthopedic defects, half of tibia, half of the peroneum, femoral head, spinal cord, etc., etc. And the video that comes along is the first preclinical test that we did in a patient. So I call it preclinical, it's in a dog, but still it's a real patient, so we did not kill the dog in the end. And that dog was the probably luckiest dog ever to have that first graft. It was supposed to be amputated for a very complex surgery that the dog had. That actually failed, so the dog had a fracture. The fracture wouldn't unify, wouldn't stick. So it had like a second knee, so the two parts of the bone were moving like this. They put an external fixator, it didn't work. They put an internal fixator, it failed again. And the surgeon or vet surgeon that came to us and said, okay, I'm going to take all the hardware out. So the dog lost like 2 kilograms of metal plates. And I put an internal one, and I will try your 3D thing. And at that moment, it was very experimental. We said, yes, but maybe you should cut the leg now because it's going to fail. He insisted, we did it, and it actually worked. So this is the video that's coming around is the diagnostic and the implantation of the bone graft, so you see the printed thing.
So one more question before we move on. So the composition of this is hydroxyapatite?
Yeah. It's a biomimetic apatite, so it's hydroxyapatite full of defects, very badly sintered, and very imperfect. And that's how the body actually makes it.
Click on again.
I don't think so. So this is the printing of the personalized graft, and then we see the surgeon taking out the part of the bone that is not healthy anymore and place that personalized graft in it. So this was 1/3 of the tibia of the dog.
What is he doing now? Is he soldering? Or what is he doing? Cutting.
Yeah, now he cut it. He required a graft that was longer because he didn't know how much he had to cut, and then he cut it to the perfect length. And then they placed it, so this is very ambitious from a surgery point of view. And this is the X-ray, where you see the graft in the middle. And I don't have the follow-up of the case, but I can tell you that dog was 2 years, it was 2 years from now, and now the dog is a normal dog. So it's a dog walking with 4 paws, and it did not in fact go wrong or
And
well.
they took out the stents?
They did not take out the plates, but they had the metal plate to keep everything in place. They did not take it out, they should, but they did not because it's a dog and they won't do one more surgery. So there's a huge risk there, but the case as of today is successful, so bone actually welded.
And how did the dog, what happened after the day after the surgery?
The dog was walking because it had a metal plate to actually maintain everything in place so it could walk. At the very beginning you say, now we had, based on this case, we were very happy because it's successful, and we had also a lot of questions because bone, this is a ceramic implant, and bone has many more things than only ceramic. It has blood vessels, it has nerves, it has the living environment in there. It generates bone cells, blood cells, sorry, and this dog seems to actually walk properly, and the bone looks healthy from a radiological point of view. And then we have now more questions than we had before when we started, but we're trying to answer them now.
So the graft has been replaced by new bone?
Is being replaced. It has been integrated in bone, so now we have a continuous bone, but the middle part is still a mix of the bone graft and the bone. And
What about bone marrow?
we don't know about bone marrow. That's one of the questions. That bone marrow should be a vital part of the bone, and there we did a homogeneous graft, so we did not do a more porous center of the bone and denser outer part of the bone. That's how it should be. Because we have no blood inflow, we have nothing in there. We have only inflow from the sides. We did not tune the geometry of the graft to match to the original bones because we're lacking many things.
But you would assume that when the bone is hollow, right, and you put something on top of it, then the tissue that is touching the granulate, that is what creates the bone, right? But the bone marrow would then also interact with the granulate and break that down, or no?
No, the bone, in that case, bone seems to come from the side. So the soft tissue that calcifies. And then blood inflow comes from all over the muscles and soft tissue that go around. But this is a 100% open question.
But what is the purpose of the bone marrow?
The bone marrow does many things. So it generates bone cells, blood cells, it filters heavy metals, it has like a metabolic function in your body. And in that case, it's the communication of the bone with the rest of the body is through the center of the bone that goes directly in the bone marrow. So there in long bones, the blood inflow is centric, so it's in the middle part of the bone. And it goes directly in the bone marrow and then redistributes it in the whole bone. So bone lives from inside, and the entry door of the bone is lateral in the long bones, or in the short bones it's different. And then if you have no bone marrow that can redistribute this blood inflow, then you have a problem. But in that case, the blood inflow is not centric to the bone, it comes from somewhere else. We don't know where.
But then another complication can be that if you put the implant in there and then it communicates with the bone marrow, then it gets an infection, then the infection goes to the bone marrow and the bone marrow produces infected cells.
Yeah.
Because it's the main only producer of blood cells in our body in the adult. So that can be and then you go in sepsis and stuff.
This is a huge risk.
And
as soon as everything goes as planned, we should not have infections.
Yeah.
But
no,
this is the true
of course,
risk.
you go sterile stuff.
But that communication is missing.
Make a hole in the middle, like make it hollow, like to allow the bone marrow.
We can make it hollow, but then we also need in the surgery to reconstruct the blood inflow. So put blood in the entry door of that hollow thing.
Yeah.
And this we don't know where it is. When you open, you say, where is this?
Okay, can you take bone marrow from somewhere else and fill it with bone marrow?
Yeah, you could take bone marrow, for instance, from the iliac crest. In case of patients, in the case of dogs, I'm not sure they would do it. But the problem is to connect the hollow bone filled with bone marrow with the blood system. Naturally, you have the blood inflow artery that come in the middle of the bone, and when you take out the non-healthy bone at the very beginning of the surgery, this is the part you have to take out. You also take out all this part, and you don't know where it goes. You just open and you have nothing. I mean, you can reconstruct the blood inflow there.
You have to reconstruct the veins.
Yes, I mean the surgeons we work with at least tell us this is.
And can this be used for any other bone structure in the body?
Yes, so now we're testing. That's the second most open question we have. So where's the limit, to put it philosophical? But can we replace anything? And how much of one bone can we replace?
Right.
So now we have 9 dogs that we had surgery on. The 9 are okay. And the most challenging one was a full femoral head. So as if you wanted to change a prosthesis, where we printed a full femoral head. and then they sculpt the femoral head of the original dog and use the cartilage to place it onto the graft. And this is, as of today, it's successful, but it's a dog, so you can't really ask him, okay, is it painful? Does it work?
So, can you measure that on the brainstem? Pain signals?
What do you see? No, I'm sorry. I just was wondering, what do you see the future of this being like in 10 years, 15 years? What do you imagine this looking like overall?
Yeah, the plan that we have for this technology is 2 years from now is to have total freedom of the surgeon to print whatever he or she needs. And in that sense, we're working on libraries where you can have your own design and say, okay, from this clinical history, you can print shapes that are useful for some indications. For instance, you take out a teeth and you print the shape of the teeth, for instance, and you place it in the bone. And the idea is that we get designs that could be validated by the community. Say, okay, I had a teeth extraction, I printed this shape, I put it in, it worked, and someone else somewhere took that design, tested it, and said, okay, yes, it works, and have confirmation like this. Because we don't know until what type of bone or what amount of bone or volume of bone we can print.
So then, in other words though, if we're hopeful, like in 5-10 years, we could print an entire tibia, if we wanted to.
That could be one, that's one of the things we aim at, to be able to support load totally. Because now we still need to place the implant and wait for bone regeneration to have a fully functional bone. And the ideal for us, the challenge that we have, the big challenge, is to almost treat you as a car. So you have part of you, the bone, doesn't work, you go to the garage and go out with a new one.
And structural integrity-wise, when it comes to strength of
But
this?
that's the challenge.
Okay.
Now we don't know better,
Okay.
meaning that we can we can print a full tibia, but we cannot change the tibia and pretend you walk away. So now we can change parts of the bone, so we use fixators, we use metal plates still, and we regenerate one part and we leave it for 6 months, 8 months, depending on the surgeon. But the ideal objective is what you say, is to be able to replace a bone, and there we have to answer all the questions that we raised before. What's happening with vascularization, nerves, cells, bone marrow, all these questions are, as of today, like science fiction.
This is, I'm sorry, not to bring it, this is a super stupid question. Do bones know what they're supposed to be shaped like?
No, this is a super philosophical question.
Oh, because my question, so it's, do bones know what they're supposed to be shaped like, and then are we anywhere close to being able to catalyze osteogenesis? Like if we could, would a bone know what it was supposed to be like? If it would just be like grow, would it grow into its own shape?
Generally,
Away
bone,
from the distribution of efforts.
yeah.
So
And the environment.
Okay.
as you load the bone, it transmits a force, and the force gets converted into a piezoelectric signal.
Okay, so that's what
Usually
it
tells
is.
the calcium ions to go there, or tells the osteocytes to go there.
So
So there's some
it's-
details that are not known, but the fact that you're loading the bone is important for the bone
So
to be
there's
shaped.
no difference between bone cells here versus bone cells here.
Okay.
It's the same cell, it's just because of the environment and the
Yes.
torsion.
How is it with stem cells? Could you sort of inject stem cells to increase the growth rate?
Yeah, we had a project on this like 7 years ago, and the aim was to combine the granules that you saw with stem cells on it. So that is like, okay, you take the ideal thing, you take cells from the patient, you multiply them, you place them on the bone graft, and you put the bone graft, like the full bone on. And the result clinically that they saw is that there was no difference between the bone graft and the bone graft seeded with stem cells. And the reason for that is that stem cells usually don't survive much in the body. So they radio trace them, and they saw that at 3 hours, 5 hours, they were basically all dead. Or they all migrated.
You should get
So-
constant
Yeah,
transmission.
you should get, and it's nonsense. I mean,
Yeah.
it would be extremely expensive, non-applicable. You can increase the rate of infection by 200 perhaps.
So back to the dental. So you said now non-invasive injection of the stuff. Can it be used for leveling, for aesthetic, for sort of?
It can be used for aesthetics, for preventive. So when you're going to have, when the surgeon sees that be a problem, you can regenerate it. You cannot use it to raise bone like this because it's an injectable one, so you inject it and if you put pressure on it, it leaves. And you can use it especially for what they call sinus lift, when you have a very low height of bone between your mouth and your sinus. It's called the maxilla. And when you don't have bone, enough bone to place a screw in there, you actually use part of the sinus and you do a bone graft that goes up the sinus vein. And this can be done minimally invasive preventive, and the injectable material is aimed at this. So if you inject the bone to regenerate, and once it's regenerated, you have enough height to place the screw.
So you're saying it's not, just wouldn't work for heightening the gum?
In the case we saw, no. In the maxilla, yes. Because in that case, you take volume from the mouth to increase the bone level. In that case, you had bone loss, you open, and you put a bone graft on top of it and you close.
Yeah.
So the volume you get it from the oral cavity. This aid. And on top, you don't regenerate like this. You go find some space in the maxilla. So there you have two cavities and you go find some space here. It's the sinus, the thing that gets infected when you get sinusitis. And there you get that volume that you need to place the dental implant. You don't take it from the oral cavity, you take it from the upper cavity, the sinus. And then you can inject. Actually, it's way more convenient to inject because you have nothing on top to squeeze what you inject. So it doesn't.
So the short answer is no.
The short answer is no. On the mandibular, no. On the maxilla. So here, no. Here.
This biomimetic tissue, did you find it in nature, or did you design that shape that it has? It's extremely intricate.
Those flowers.
Yeah, flowers. That's a great description. So a mix of the two. So first we characterize bone very much. So I said we, there was basically a research group. And regarding literature, you know that bone is a mix of collagen and hydroxyapatite. So you have orientated collagen with micro nanocrystals of hydroxyapatite on it. And then the trick was say, okay, how close can we get from there? We did a step backwards and say, how is bone generated? So you have more than usual concentration, higher than usual concentration of calcium and phosphorus. And these two very high concentrations tend to precipitate into calcium phosphate precipitates. And the calcium phosphate structured in a specific way is hydroxyapatite. So there the manufacturing process is to have supersaturation of calcium and phosphate in a very specific solution that we mix the body, and expect this to naturally precipitate into hydroxyapatite crystals that happen to be, by luck or by randomness, reasonably similar, 80% similar to the ones that you find in bone.
And this structural integrity that you're saying that you're not sure if you have might come from that 20% that you're not able to mimic.
Yes. There's this part and the fact that bone is not only hydroxyapatite. Hydroxyapatite is the ceramic part, but ceramic is fragile, and if you add collagen on it, you get flexibility, and on top of that, you need to add all the piezoelectric properties, all these little details that are not details at all this living part of it. And this is the challenge we're having.
Do you think
You
it's going to
can
happen?
add good collagen in the mix.
You can, but put it in the right place to have the right structure. It's super common to find a bone graft with collagen, but you don't have the properties of a bone. And this is pure marketing purpose.
Yeah.
By the way, you said you mix the granules with plasma, and then you put back the gum and close up. But there is no circulation there. What happens after 3 months to that plasma?
No, the plasma stays there.
And it doesn't degenerate?
But there is circulation of fluids by the bone below. Because you just open, generally you scratch the bone to activate it. So you scratch it, you have live bone, so you have blood. And from there you get the communication with the body that prevents infections in one side and that makes things happen.
So there is circulation in that granule mold, that thing that you saw on top of in the mouth?
Yeah, you need it. Actually, the trick is always to close as best as possible the oral cavity. That's the most contaminated part of the body, probably. You have basically bacteria, the good ones, the bad ones, but you have everyone there, and you don't want them to get in because you don't have open wounds naturally in your mouth.
Okay, and last time we spoke, you mentioned that carbon fiber or something to prevent the gum from growing into the...
You can use membranes. You can use membranes when you don't want. This is a surgical technique. So when you have a cavity in bone, and you put a membrane on it, and the cavity is hollow, so you have nothing in there. And if you do this very well, you will have bone after 3 months in there. They call it guided bone regeneration. So the basics behind this is that bone is the slowest tissue to grow. So if no one goes there, then bone will actually reach at some point the full filling of this cavity. If you don't put the membrane, you have soft tissue and you have a scar. You have like nothing. And you can place an implant. But when you use membranes, I think there are maybe 5 or 6 surgeons that can do this technique well enough. And they call it guided bone regeneration. But now to make it safe, they use this, but they put a bone graft in it.
So
to make sure that you have
between the gum and the bone, you put the membrane?
You put a membrane and you use techniques, sieving techniques or whatever, to give volume to this membrane to have a hollow space in between. And this is a space you will naturally regenerate if nothing gets in the cavity.
Space in the air?
And nothing you don't like. But this is a very, very complex technique. And you usually do this when you take out a teeth and you have what they call a 4-wall defect. So you have a fully contained defect and you just put a tap on it. And if you do this well enough, then you have bone in there.
But then if you put the membranes and then you put the graft, how can you be sure that nothing grows in between?
If you put the graft, then anything that gets in contact with the graft will go towards bone lining.
Okay.
So there you say, okay, soft tissue we have to calcify to be bone.
Okay.
And this is what the role of the bone graft in that is.
And degeneration over time? Degeneration over time?
Resorption, yeah.
What does it look like? Like when somebody dies, what is that bone going to look like?
Well, no.
So it's going to look 100%. Like, so when I look at a tooth of somebody that's dead, it's going to look 100% like normal?
So the data we have says that between 1 and 3 years we have full replacement of the bone graft by living tissue.
That's cool.
So this is the shift from the research world from the material to a tooth. So this is temporal. But when they die, I hope there's just live bone, and this is what we should see now.
So then if it came to load bearing, if you had a person sitting for 3 years, if it was like for a tibia, you would have a person sitting for 3 years and afterwards, in theory, it would be okay?
It could be like this if bone was not sensitive to movement.
Okay.
So you have the Wolff's law, it's called, so if you don't stimulate bone, they call it mechanical abduction. If you don't stimulate it, it goes away.
Okay.
So that would be a solution, but you would have to go like, take the leg of the patient and just do like this.
How about in 0G? How about in 0 gravity?
Astronauts do discussing.
No, I know that Wolff's law is a big thing in 0G, but I mean, could you, as a space nerd, could you do that in space, and would it like happen if there's no gravity but there is movement? So there's no load, but there is movement.
You need to apply some forces to your bone.
So you need a load from gravity or
actually, you don't need movement. You need a load. You can stand still, but you need some load.